We live? We live? Yeah. We are totally live. Hey, everybody. Welcome back and Happy New Year. Hey, did you have a good Christmas? Did you have a good New Year's? I know I did. So, everybody, welcome back to Whitty Reviews on the Chateau de Mars Hill Network. I am Steve Whitmer, aka Slick Whitty, aka Baron of Banville, aka the Torta Slayer. So, first things first, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe on Whitty Reviews and my clip channel, right there and right there. And I'm a little bit behind on my clips. Don't worry, it's 2025. I will catch up, and there's not much going on. So, no big deal. Also, I am still shadow banned on Twitter. If you watch my Saturday show, I was able to give a couple of examples. So if you want to, I'd love it. Go to x.com/king of witties and do your boy a favor and make sure you follow me. Because I gave Elon, I was talking bad about Elon about that whole H-1B thing. And I said, I thought that Elon was spending way too much around Trump. I didn't like it. He seems like he's going to be like George Soros at the end. And so guess what? Yeah, I got shadow banned like a son of a bitch. It was not cool. And a bunch of, liberals decided to mass report me because I hurt their fees. And that's what's going to happen every time. But also, hey, this is your weekly reminder that Democrats are cowards and extremely lazy. Last night, there was supposed to be an Indy council meeting and it got canceled. Probably because of the roads. But you know what? I was working. You were working. The McDonald's people were working. Drew in the house. Beyond Formal in the house. Hey, Beyond Formal had a great episode today. You should totally go on YouTube and check him out. Great content too. But going back, the gas stations were open. But you're going to tell me that our elected officials couldn't show up to work at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday? Monday. Yeah, I know. And Vop decided to post this little bad boy right here, showing that he was hanging out with DPW. I suspect that DPW decided to plow his driveway. This is what I thought was really funny, though. Look at this. His tags are expired. So go figure on that. So going back, though, if this is your first time watching, welcome. You are in for a ride. Also, it's a good idea to keep an eye on me and slightly pay attention. And also, Happy New Year. So you think 2024 was crazy? 2025 is going to get even more wild. And I know what you're thinking. Listen, Whitty, there are no elections. And I would say you are right. But there are new people in office and almost the entire government has been sworn in. And we have to make sure that we make their life a little bit uncomfortable. No harassment. We just have to make sure that we're constantly asking questions. You got newbies, you got old heads. We got to hold their feet to the fire. Tomorrow is the beginning of session, and we must make their life just a little bit uncomfortable. Just enough to know that we are paying attention. And listen, there are a lot of us that are paying attention, not just me, but also people like Ken Colbert and others. We're looking at the bills, which I'll talk about towards the end of the show. And it'll be like the subject for next week, too. Spoiler alert. And, they talked this giant game about like what they were going to do if I was in office, taxes, roads, whatever. And I'm looking at some of the bills and I'm a little bit disappointed so far. I mean, they talked this giant game of what they're going to do and it's just not panning out. We're going to talk a little bit that towards the end, too. Definitely next week. And our job as constituents and taxpayers is to hold them accountable. And I'm talking about people like Craig Haggard, who never emails me back, by the way. Plus, he was part of this whole neocon globalist movement to get a true conservative out of office and replace him with a one world government establishment lackey. If you know who I'm talking about, listen, I know my producer definitely knows who I'm talking about. But, let me just make it clear, though. Craig cares more about regulating slap fight gambling. It's true. It's one of his bills than trying to help out taxpayers. He's a globalist. I kind of hope he loses his run for Congress. I think he's going to be a disappointment. It's people like him or Jake Teshka, Chris Judy, and Bob Morris that want to repeal the death penalty. Yeah, that's one of their bills this year. These people are murderer sympathizers. These people want your tax money to house, to feed, to get college degrees. off your confiscated money. As Lucy would say, they are stealing your money because taxation is theft. And these are the types of people that feel bad for child rapists, pedophiles, when they're locked up in prison for 30 plus years. And listen, I've read the bills, and I'm not convinced these people should be in office. This is not the time to slow down. We must keep the pedal to the metal. We must keep an eye on these scumbags. And most importantly, we need to primary them out. I will go and carpetbag somewhere in Jake Teshka's district. I do not care. I do not want these people in office. And I'm making a list. Look, I'm checking it twice. And Stevie Kloss is back in town, and we need just to primary these people. So I know what you're thinking. There's no election year. People aren't going to be paying attention. And that's where you're wrong. I believe they are fully aware that we are paying attention because of people like me, people like you. If you're watching this, you're a concerned citizen. People like John, people like on Mouthwash, people that watch Mouthwash, and definitely all of you grassroots people that voted in Micah, people that voted in Braun. We want to make sure that there's accountability, and we just have to keep it going. And I'm going to be keeping paying extra attention on these neocon globalist scum, and so should you. This isn't the time, and this is a fair warning. This isn't for the weak-hearted. It never is. The amount of frustration, the anxiety, the black pilling, the white pilling, it's going to be a roller coaster of mayhem, and everybody needs to be ready for it. And I'm not talking about mentally, but also emotionally, physically, and for those of us in Indy, it's already game over. I hate to say it to you. We had a chance in 22, but it's game over. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So as a reminder, let me just start off with saying Indy's a crap hole. I could say a little bit more colorful language, but it is a crap hole. We have a garbage mayor with a DEI administration that is filled with moronic clowns, with a garbage prosecutor, garbage judge, garbage magistrates, an awful council, by the way, filled with race hustlers, socialists, and neocons. And I'm here to tell you, boys, girls, hey, it's game over. And now what we have to do, yes, thank you, Drew. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was trying to be just a sweet and cute little guy. But guess what? We have to rebuild, not build back better, but we just have to build something, all right? Because right now we are laying on a bed of crap, and I don't like the smell, and it's getting in my mouth. I can taste it. I can smell it. Every time I wake up, it's in my nostrils. It's tearing me apart. I tear up every time I'm in the shower, realizing that I have to go onto that Rockville Road and see how crappy my roads are because DPW does not know how to plow. It's disgusting. I don't like it, and they need some accountability, and we need to do it. So people are leaving Indy and they're going to greener pastures. I've talked about that before. Businesses are leaving or they're closing down. And I know that what you're thinking is like, what the crap, Whitty? What are you doing pilling me for right now? Why are you making me depressed on a Tuesday night at 8:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? We are only a week into the new year and you're starting it off like this? Well, yeah. Actually, yeah, I am, because you need to know how bad it is. You need to know how much work there is in front of us. And you need to know how we have a chance to fix it, which I'm going to talk about at the end. And you have to remember, Indy voted for this because Democrats are literally the worst kind of people. 40% of the population can do something about it. Let's not forget the Democrat cancer is also bleeding into other counties. Hamco, Johnson, Hendricks, Boone. What's the other one? Hancock. They are already feeling the pain, especially Hamco. It's totally over for them, Carmelites. But I will tell you what, the Marion County GOP, the Indy GOP, they will prevent us from trying to fix it. That is so true. And any of you guys that have been riding the grassroots wagon for the last 2 years, you know that. And I have proof of it, which we're going to talk about as long as I remember. As long as I remember. Also, this Saturday night, like every Saturday night, 8:00 p.m. Eastern, I have my chill stream, basically. It's live. It's uncensored, very uncensored. And you should come by and check it out. This week, we're going to be talking about one of the bills that would close down a bunch of schools in Indianapolis if they don't have over 50% enrollment. And I will tell you what, the Black community is not happy about that. I follow a lot of these people on Instagram. They are not pleased about it. So I wasn't exactly sure how to explain this giant mess. So I'm just going to give you a bunch of data, explain what's going on, give you my opinion, find out ways that we can fix this, because it's way worse than anybody thinks. If you don't live in Marion County, if you're not part of the sector, if you're not paying attention to politics, it is like unbelievably bad. We were just like, you know what? I'm just going to leave, which will, guess what? Over 8,000 people have done. But first off, this was this morning. I tell you what, I wake up every morning. I'm laying in a bed. I'm feeling like, oh crap, I got to go out there. And I follow a lot of these political bloggers, newspapers, whatever have you. People like Axios and InCap Chronicle, State Affairs. Not Indy Star though. No, thank you. They have a paywall for most things anyway. So this was very interesting because it was like perfect timing. I thought to myself, hey, we're going to be talking about this anyway. This was part of Axios. It's Erica Heron. She's a vegan. Very big lip shit, too. 2025 are always flush with promise. New year, new you. And by the way, I have decided this year, when I say new year, new you, I'm going to be so much worse this year. You thought that I had to tone myself down for the last 2 years. Well, not anymore. I'm out of the cage. I'm out of this prison, even I'm still kind of stuck in Indy. But there's no elections and I'm not running for office. I finally get to be me. You are in for a treat. So anyway, I have like 50 tabs open, so I got to make sure I get through this stuff. All right, big picture. They were talking about several large events, making progress on public safety and development, and navigating negotiations with the state on public transit projects and the downtown fee to support a new low barrier shelter. And by the way, that shelter is not going to. They haven't even stuck a shovel in the dirt yet. They don't have any money yet. All we know is I think it's supposed to be built up on like the northeast side, something like that. I don't know. East side's kind of a shithole anyway, so it makes sense. Why don't you just put all the bums there? I don't know if you guys remember this story. If you guys went to the town hall that me, Scheidale, and Renselberger did, and I was talking about this story about I was on Washington, I was going downtown, and there was a church on the north side of me, like right before Harding, and there was this bum just wanking it right there on the steps of a church. It was disgusting. We don't need those people around us. Put them in a pen, like a velociraptor pen. I don't care. So, yeah, but don't we eat the cows, Tommy? Thank God for cows. That's all I'm going to say. Thank God for pigs, too. Bacon is so good. So anyway, reality check. It could be hard to keep that momentum going while City Hall continues to deal with the fallout from sexual harassment and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I talk about sexual harassment stuff, and you really think that's what's going on with Indy? No. All right, and I'm going to explain it right here. Boom. What do we got here? So this is from census.gov, and I did Hancock, Johnson, Hamco, Hendricks, Marion County, and Indy. And I wanted to put the proof in the pudding. I said there are over 8,000 people that have left Indy and Marion County. I think, where was my numbers at? Okay, so over 8,300 people have left in Indy. Over 8,700 people have left in Marion County. The 2024 numbers aren't there yet. I don't know if they're going to count the illegals or not, so be warned. Yeah, best way to make meat is right. So, and this is not just true for Indy. This is true for Chicago. Chicago population hit its lowest point since 1920. 100 years ago. 100 years ago. And it's not just Chicago. Guess what? It's all of the blue cities. Knock it off. Americans are leaving Democratic states, census data shows. And this was from 2023. This was from just over a year ago. Now, you might be asking, it's like, well, how did we get here? What happened? Well, do you remember 2020? Do you remember it? Because I remember it like it was yesterday. What a time. Traffic was pretty good, though. I'm not going to lie. This was basically the beginning of the fallout. And I think this was even happening before 2020. It's just I don't have any data for what the population was in 2019. And, oh, yeah, one more thing I want to bring up. All right, so my state representative, Justin Masochist Moed, the guy who decided not to show up for the first day of work, and he also had a bill that would reduce a felony to a misdemeanor for child neglect. And guess what? There was just a kid over in my district, actually, that the dad and the girlfriend let this kid starve to death and just beat the crap out of him. I think he basically starved him and beat him to death. And that would have been a misdemeanor because if Justin Moed's bill might have passed. So I decided to look. Not all the bills are out yet. I'm still waiting on like half a dozen of them to come out. And, our session starts tomorrow. IJ needs to pick it up. So he's doing his old copy and paste routine to show he's like, look at how many bills that I have. Hey, man, those darn Republicans, they're just not letting my bills reach out to committee or be heard. It's lame. It's stupid. But we even look at like City Market. This was back earlier this year, February 2024. City Market to close for 2 years, leaving vendors with unanswered questions. And I go to the city county meetings every month. There's nothing going on over there. It's literally right across the street. All they've done is fence it off so the bums aren't hanging out over there. But let's talk about 2020. Do you remember Dre'Son Reed? Is that how you say it? Yeah, Dre'Son Reed. That whole mess, and then we had the protest, obviously. Yeah, hold on. You remember this? Okay, so I was covering all of this. This is when I first got into the realm of everything, and I was going to all these protests just to check it out. I remember I was over in downtown, and I was they were doing this basically, and some black dude in front of me, he was sitting in the passenger side and his wife was on the driver's side, and he's yelling at the protesters. And then this like ginger troll starts yelling at him. He's like, get back in the car. You don't know about oppression. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh my God, I got to record this. So I recorded it, but I only caught like the part where the guy starts walking back in the car. I like just barely missed it. So Ken Avador, miss you, Ken, by the way. Ken Avador lived in downtown, and he covered a lot of this stuff. He got shamed like a son of a bitch by all the liberals and all the things that he was covering. Remember that all this was covered up from the 2020 riots? I went the following morning. I think it was the first night where they were burning everything down, or at least setting the streets on fire. And there was the road was still smoldering, basically. And yeah, Jack's Barbershop left City Market. Yeah, that's crazy, right? Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, there were a lot of salon owners that actually got fined for not enforcing the mask mandate. I thought there was some woman that got fined in downtown, but I couldn't find it. So anyway, remember that? And what ended up happening with Dre'Son Reed? He ended up having a gun. This is all documented, by the way. Donut Operator covered it. A whole bunch of other people covered it. And they were just mad because he was taking the people out, going like over 100 miles per hour. Could have killed somebody. He shot at police. Yeah, you remember that? I do. I certainly do. There's just one of the reasons why I even got into politics was this night. This is the reason why you're seeing me right now. This was the turning point for me, basically, because I was there the following day. I was walking across. The smell of pepper spray was still in the air. They still had like the giant DPW trucks that were blocking off intersections. And I know some of this is like being repetitive, but I want to make sure that I stress the point. I'm surprised some of these videos are still on Twitter, honestly. I remember all this stuff, protesting downtown Indianapolis right now. Get ready for the first video, please. And so Ken Avador, like I said, he was covering a lot of this stuff. This was from 2023, but then this picture is from 2020. And I remember all the places, they had plywood up on a lot of windows for like 2 years, I think. It was bananas. But go ahead and roll the video.
And a good afternoon, Ray. For the first time leaving the confines of his 25th floor conference room, Mayor Hogsett made a public appearance today. And when he was talking about the conduct in the streets of Indianapolis that began on Friday night and the violence that occurred, he chose to direct his police chief, Randy Taylor, to launch internal affairs investigations into the activities of officers who were trying to put down 2 nights of rioting. It was during the past couple days when the city of Indianapolis, over the weekend in downtown, police arrested more than 50 people. There were millions of dollars of damages. 2 people were murdered. There were reports of protesters shooting at police. And Mayor Hogsett says he's concerned that some officers may have stepped over the line in deploying tear gas, making arrests, or subduing resistors, and he wants his police chief to investigate. After the commercial district was trashed Friday night, protesters turned on banks and the city-county building Saturday night. Police say throwing frozen water bottles, rocks, and firecrackers while choosing to confront officers as opposed to continuing to march. Finally, a Sunday night curfew and travel restrictions went into effect last night, nearly 48 hours
That's
after
good.
the first window was broken. An hour ago, I asked the mayor, why didn't he lock down the city before Saturday night?
To the extent that curfew.
Look at how chubby Hogsett was back then.
Certainly was for Saturday, but a judgment was made that perhaps with cooperation and collaboration, we could avoid the violence that had unfortunately been in the city on Friday night.
I asked the mayor why he didn't direct that the streets to the city be shut down on Saturday before the cars added to the chaos. Saturday night, he said that was IMPD's call. Earlier this afternoon, I asked Governor Eric Holcomb, when did you talk to the mayor? What were your conversations like ever since Friday night? What assets did the mayor ask for? What assets did you deliver to help restore order? The governor sidestepped my question and never really answered it. Live at the city-county building, Russ McQuaid, Fox 59 News.
All right, Russ.
Yeah, crazy, right? You remember all that? Because I certainly do. Remember how I just said, like, hey, there was stuff on fire, then they had the big trucks too? Yeah, that was pretty wild. And one of the two people that were killed was Chris Beatty. So I remember this stuff very vividly, going through downtown, and then there being curfew hours too. I remember seeing the National Guard posted up on a couple of intersections. And this one is like, oh, the militia is downtown. It's like, wait a minute, those are the Boogaloo Boys? You remember those? So yeah, I think this was the one that I attended. This is not my video, obviously. But look, everything's guarded up. Everything's boarded up. This was basically the beginning of the end for Indianapolis because we had a garbage leader. I think Mears showed up later. Oh, not that one yet. Not that one yet. We're getting there, though. We're getting there. Yeah, same thing. 2020, everything was boarded up. This was before that garbage Spark project. Same thing. All the homeless people, especially right now, the bums are still hanging out. The only time that they're not around is when there's like basically a Colts game or some kind of major event like Taylor Swift. Gross. Oh, do you remember this one? This one was wild. I remember this because I was watching it live. I also saw like one of the protests on 38th Street. This one where the protesters were walking to the governor's mansion and the police like basically stopped them a couple of blocks away. And do you remember who was kind of leading that whole thing? Who is this? Thank you, Steve Stuck, for posting this. This was Muhammad something. Malik Muhammad. He was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison for using explosives to try and commit attempted mass murder in Portland. Yeah. This guy. This was the guy that Rod Kendall talks about a lot, too. And, of course, Chris Beatty got murdered. Nobody ever talks about that anymore, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. And remember our dipshit city councilor, Jesse Ass Clown Brown. That's right. The ketamine cowboy, as I call him. He considers himself Antifa. And Antifa is basically a bunch of cowards, bunch of Marxists, bunch of socialists, and that kind of fits in for Jesse. But let's talk about we'll talk. Get ready for the old lady one. But let's talk about now. Let's talk about 2024, right? Because listen, we have had 5 straight years of over 200 homicides, and don't believe whenever these media outlet starts talking about it's like we had less homicides from this point. They definitely like talking about it during the summer, at the beginning of the summer. And we have had 209 homicides this year. And don't believe anything what they talk about with percent. Oh, we've had a 10% decrease. Give me the numbers, all right? Because we've had 5 straight years of over 200 homicides. And they can say that things are getting better, but we have never had this many homicides in the entire history of Indianapolis, and it continues to be worse. And if you remember this, and now we have a new problem, actually. It's all these illegals. If you look at all these illegals, they're coming in, they're doing street takeovers, the city council put up an ordinance where they'll be able to actually arrest them, keep them detained, take their cars, do the things that you're supposed to be doing, because Ryan Mears isn't doing anything because he's just a Nosferatu sucking the life out of the city, a vampire. We got our crappy judges and magistrates that are giving garbage plea deals or low bonds, that are working with the prosecutor's office to give plea deals, obviously, and then just letting these people back on the street. Yeah, go ahead. But you know what? We talk about like, why are people leaving? There is one lady who thinks she knows why people are leaving Indianapolis. Go ahead and play that.
We know from surveys through organizations in the city, in the state, and nationally that many, many people who come to visit Indianapolis come to our historic neighborhoods and to Mass Ave because it is visually inviting. You can see the architecture, you can see the trees. We work hard on the planning strip. It's not blighted by billboards. A few years ago, when I was president of CUNY, we looked at the brain drain. The question, why do people leave Indianapolis, and where do they go, and why do they go there? And we found out that they go to visually inviting cities: Austin, Dallas, Portland. But if you come home and you look at where we have lost people and businesses over the last 10 years, it's Carmel, Indiana, and they allow 0 billboards. Also restricting billboards: Zionsville, Noblesville, Fishers, Columbus.
That's from the Whitty Clips channel. Yeah, I put up cool stuff like that all the time. Things that can be easily digested. You know, it's really funny. She brought up Portland, Oregon, so I just looked up the population data real quick. Negative 3.4%. Let's see, over 20,000 people have left Portland, Oregon. Am I reading that right? Oh, where's 2020 at? 652. Yeah. Over 20,000 people have left Portland, Oregon. So she's like, oh, they don't have billboards. No, it's because Portland is a giant shithole and people are leaving out of there. They basically give there's no consequences for any of these criminals. But let's talk about what's going on in Indy too when it comes to a police enforcement mechanism. Now, I will tell you right now, all right? I don't have that big of a deal with Rick Snyder, but this motherfucker blocked me, all right? I have a huge problem with that, all right? And here's why. I called him out about giving Justin Moed money, endorsing him, by the way, back in 2022. I don't know, during the election year 2022. I don't think they did it this year because I kept calling him out about it. I reached out to the FOP because I wanted to know what was how do I get an interview with them? I want to know what the whole procedure is. Never heard back from them. And so when I called out Rick Snyder about endorsing Justin Moed, endorsing Joe Hogsett, by the way, and endorsing Democrats that frankly have not been on the side of the police at all, he blocked me. And not only that, but old Chucky Harrison decided to block me too. Unbelievable, because this guy has voted for Ryan Mears. He voted for Joe Hogsett. He talked about voting for Joe Biden. And you're going to tell me that this guy is competent enough that he doesn't realize that, hey, maybe you should change your voting habits and maybe you should start helping people out, get them in office. Otherwise, we're just going to keep getting the same thing over and over again. But, you know, as usual, when did this happen? This happened January 2nd. 12 firearms, 1 machine gun conversion device, 2 drone magazines, some wacky tobacco, and multiple shell casings of various calibers. An Indigo bus was called on scene to help keep this was happened from like a short-term rental, I believe, and they had to call in an Indigo bus because they had so many people and they didn't want them to get cold. Let them freeze. I don't care. This is where short-term rentals are going to be a problem in the future. And I've said this for like the last year. Like people that have these Airbnbs or whatever the other ones are, they are going to be an issue in communities that like it nice and quiet, because you're going to have stuff like this. And I think short-term rentals just need to be banned in Indianapolis, or you just contain it in one area. They are definitely going to be an issue, but Indianapolis isn't the only one wait a minute. There was something too, right? No, we'll talk about that in a second. But guess what, folks? It's not just Indianapolis. It's Marion County as a whole. Lawrence is having its own issues. And those who have not been paying attention, oh boy, you are in for a treat. Deb Whitfield, who got voted in last year instead of Dave Hoffman, which was crazy, is already screwing up Lawrence. It's already bankrupting Lawrence. So bad that the counselor calls for a forensic audit. Now, there's our things, and I didn't even know that this was a thing, but where is it? So they're asking for a forensic audit. Choice as the city's fiscal authority and the Whitfield administration. Well, here's kind of things where things get kind of wild. Allie Brown is the current vice president of the city council right now. Her husband used to be in charge of her campaign, Deb Whitfield's campaign, the current mayor of Lawrence. Yeah, Zach Brown. Whitfield's campaign manager resigned as chief of staff, citing error. They got some problems. All right. Hey, I don't like where this is going. It's going to be an issue. So Chris Wilburn is the city director of public works, called out the comptroller, who's the person who basically controls all the money, accusing him of attempting to take $1.3 million from a restricted stormwater fund to falsely balance the 2025 budget. And why? Because Deb Whitfield decided to not just renovate her office, but she also wanted like a city card too. And she spent money on all this like random stuff. I'm calling it right now. Deb Whitfield is going to be the next Tiffany Henyard. That's what I'm calling right now. If you guys don't know who Tiffany Henyard is, go and Google her. All right. She's under federal investigation right now. And here's the fun part. I saw Chris Wilburn. I'm like, no way. No way. That can't be the guy. Oh, it is. Chris Wilburn. They hired him back in May as director of public works, a new position for the city. But he will oversee constituent communications and help manage projects for the city. Now, who is Chris Wilburn? Oh, married to state rep Victoria Garcia Wilburn. Now, who is Vicky Wilburn? John knows. So in 2023, when I ran for city council, the week that I filed my paperwork, I get a call from the Capitol Police saying that, hey, Vicky Wilburn was accusing me of posting pictures of her kids on the internet, where they go to school, their medical information, and all these other different pictures. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, where's the proof of all this? And the person who was running it from the Capitol Police were like, that's the thing. We can't find anything. I'm like, yeah, because you're not going to. And what the problem was is that when she was running for office, she was promoting all this public education stuff. And I found out from another person that her kids go to a private school that's like 10 or 15 grand a year. So I called her out on it. It's like, if you are for public education, why do your kids go to private school? And then it turned into this whole big thing. But I have been accused of posting all these pictures and so much source that I had to get litigation involved. And if you would just stop lying, every time that someone brings this up, just ask them, where's the proof? You're not going to find any proof. In fact, Vicky Wilburn should be arrested right now for making false claims to the police, and the GOP doesn't want to do anything about it, which I'm not surprised today, because the state GOP has just turned into a bunch of cowards and they don't want to call people out. I didn't get an apology. John got an apology, of course. So what else happened? A man arrested for Christmas Day mass shooting is in the U.S. illegally. That's right. This guy, Dazan Garzon, he killed a couple of people over Christmas, and he's in the country illegally. Now, if you don't remember, former Chief IMPD Randall Taylor, he said back in 2023 that he would not report undocumented immigrants to the feds. So as far as we know, this guy's been in here for a while, and it's on Randall Taylor's fault. Could be, most likely is, and probably Ryan Mears and everybody else in that administration, that a bunch of people are dead because of an illegal alien. Why is Indianapolis such a shithole? Administration. We have some cowards in office. Randall Taylor is no longer the IMPD chief, but he does still work for the IMPD. Right now, we have Chris Bailey, who is the chief of IMPD. And I'll tell you what, he's a coward too. He keeps talking about how we need more DEI and IMPD. Oh, we need to solve things holistically. What does that even mean, holistically? Oh, how about this? How about when someone commits a crime, they get a consequence to it? What is so hard about that? Moving on, though. Our favorite ass clown, Jesse Brown, he talked about the traffic tickets, which there's going to be a big problem with this in the very foreseeable future, too, because I talk about this all the time. It's about this whole enforcement mechanism. And even Jesse's starting to notice, too, this dipshit. He goes, I just got the data earlier today about traffic tickets, and it sure does like enforcement is basically just not happening. Yeah, no kidding. Remember, this was the guy that said we need to have 10% less budget for IMPD. After he told a police officer, if you need anything, just reach out to me. After he called the cops on some black kid. True story, by the way. It's got the footage. It's on my Whitty channel. I got the body cam footage for it. It's all documented. I don't tell any lies. Now, what else happened? Remember our favorite Nosferatu, Brian Mears? What did he do like 2 weeks ago? He declined. He has filed a notice with the court that he is declining to file charges against the 18-year-old Aaron McClure, who was arrested in connection to the shooting at the Castleton Square Mall. I will tell you what, Castleton Square Mall, rip to you. You will be closed like every other mall because basically there's just no enforcement mechanism for these animals. And this is the truth. You could see him chasing another person while displaying a gun. That is intimidation, folks. And this was also the same guy who said he blames Indy gun violence on permitless carry law. Mr. Hard on gun crime himself is a giant hypocrite. Go figure. And what he said, you know what, this whole permitless carry problem, I don't know what we're going to do about it. We're seeing so much of these gun crimes because of it. Well, guess where you're not seeing this problem, folks? The outside counties, the red counties. And you want to know why? Because their prosecutor doesn't mess around. Well, at least with that anyway. They are messing around on a few other things, especially with illegals getting pulled over and not having a license. That is starting to turn into a problem. Yeah. And what else did he say? This was back when he was running for prosecutor, and actually when he was put in as interim prosecutor, but the actual election, he was being asked about several straight years of record homicides and what's driving this violence. What can we do to stop it? You know, he gives the political answer of retaliatory violence from who, by the way? And they start talking about gun crimes, and he said, you know, we just don't have, you know, he starts talking about the Matrix. This was the funny part because I followed this election too very closely, and he kept blaming it on the bail. He's like, well, you know, the Matrix on the bail needs to be changed, but he's like, well, what can be done about that? And then he wouldn't give a straight answer at all. This is what the problem is with these politicians. They are too scared to actually answer the question. But Mr. Hard on gun crime, remember, this was also the red flag law guy, the FedEx shooting that he didn't do anything about. But what do we have to expect? What is the future for Indianapolis? Well, let me show you. This was in Minneapolis, maybe a week and a half ago. Somalis in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They gunned down some lone white kid on his front porch as he's trying to escape. They continue to say the exact same thing to the boy. What now? What now? And you can see it right here. And what happened? They shot some kid right there and just littered his house with gunfire. Hey, guess what, Indianapolis? That's what you're going to get. You're going to get all these illegals, all these people that aren't supposed to be here, that are doing street takeovers. It's going to get out of control, and they're going to just start shooting people for any reason, any reason at all. It doesn't matter. They don't like you, you're going to get shot. And Mr. Hard on gun crime isn't going to do anything, as we saw with McClure. Where is it? Yeah, with this guy. If you want to know what the future of Indianapolis is, look at the prosecutor's office. That is going to be a big indicator of it. And now what I was talking about with the traffic laws, we have this huge problem where Chief Bailey doesn't have enough officers, and because of this administration that just does not want to who can't do their job, they're handcuffed. Listen, I've talked to these officers. They're on a basically don't pull people over unless you absolutely have to, especially for for speeding, for red lights. And I have this problem over me real bad. McCormick ran on this real hard when she was running against Mike Young about needing red light cameras. Well, I could do a whole video on just that alone, which red light cameras are not going to solve anything. All it's going to do is bring in revenue. And Bailey can say all he wants that, oh, it's not about revenue, it's about consequences. Well, you're not going to like how that turns out. I can guarantee you that. So we move into the final part. I got 10 minutes left. This will go real quick. What's happening in downtown Indianapolis? Well, we know there's over 8,700 people that have left in Marion County as a whole. Well, what about downtown Indianapolis, the Mecca Center? Well, we know that Miles Square, people in Miles Square are going to start getting taxed more because there's so much bum poop over there that they have to be cleaned up, and they got to spend $1.something million. It's probably more now, where they got to start having these mental helpers, but it's really just about moving bums, and it's about cleaning up all their the poop and pee that they lay everywhere over in Miles Square when Taylor Swifty is coming in. So basically, Indianapolis has become a prostitute. I hate to say it to you. No, downtown Indianapolis is not marriage material, and here's why. Nobody wants to be there anymore because of all the problems. We know that our mayor isn't going to do anything. We know that our prosecutor isn't going to do anything. We know that our IMP chief is not going to do anything. So Indy is basically being treated as a prostitute. You give them a little money, you come inside, you have a good time, and then you leave. And leaving a blue city, just like leaving a prostitute. You make sure you take a shower, you brush your teeth when you get home, you burn your clothes. Probably not a bad idea. And basically give them some money, tell them to clean yourself up. I'll see you next time. Because downtown Indianapolis is not wifey material. It's not marriage material. It's just going to be some dirty, skanky hooker for now on. That's it. And just like every other downtown blue city, that's what it's going to turn into. And I would go into a little bit more about this, but I got a little time. There are some new faces coming into the legislature. Some that I don't trust, like Lawson, and Danny Lopez. I do not trust them at all. We'll talk about that next week for sure. But Andrew Ireland actually has a couple of bills. He was on the Mouthwash show last week. I like him. I think he's going to do real good. But he did have a bill that would basically make each township into its own like prosecutor, its own judicial area. And what the crap? Did I get booted? There's no way. I don't know. Anyway, so I consider Southern Indianapolis, the Red Wall, is delaying the demons and the blue-haired orcs from conquering Johnson County. And if you allow, here's the deal. We could have like way more Ryan Mears and probably worse than them. That's what my biggest fear is on this bill. We'll talk about it next week, though. On the flip side, we do have some awful leaders in the GOP, and I don't see it getting any better. Joe Elsner, who is the current cheerleader, is probably the worst person ever to return messages, unless you got a pocket full of cash like Shreve. The minority leader for the city council allegedly is going to be Michael Paul Hart. That we'll know for sure tomorrow night when it's voted in. But you know what? He's basically a right-wing tech bro, a GDP bro who doesn't care about the people of Indy. His main concern is money. That is my opinion. He wants Indy to become a 15-minute city. He started this AI commission, which earlier last year we had a video about. And he is Dan Booth is on the record saying that he wants Indy to be an 11-minute city. Michael Paul Hart is also leading this whole marijuana thing, which I am not a fan of. I'm gonna have a video down the stretch late in a little bit, probably a couple of weeks or next month about it. Not a big fan of it. But Michael Paul Hart, if you look at his LinkedIn, what does it say? Striving to make Indianapolis the smartest city in the world. We have an AI bro that wants us to be a security state. This is why I don't trust them, and neither should you. But you know what? It goes beyond that. Wayne Township used to have the most Republicans in any township of Indiana not that long ago, is from what I was told. I'm in Wayne Township, and when is the last time the GOP had a meeting? June? July? John, you kind of helped me out with this one because you were there with it. That is when I found out a Republican precinct committee woman who is also a Bose public affair lobbyist is great friends who is my Democrat opponent, Justin Moed. That's right. Oh, it gets way, way worse. Some of you may have watched my video of a certain Republican precinct committee woman actively helping my Democrat opponent, Justin Moed. I even have a picture. She posted helping him. I got it on my video. Look up the video. Is GOP sabotaging my campaign? And here's where it gets really crazy. She told me that she was helping him. She actually went up to my face and said, "Yeah, I am helping him." And so I sent that. So I made a whole video about it. I sent it out to everyone. And one would think this is a pretty big deal. One would think this is a pretty newsworthy problem, right? And I sent it to reporters of Mirror Indy. Didn't hear anything about it. I sent it to Indy Spanglish, aka Jerry Lopez. I sent it to Rob Kendall. I sent it to Tony Kinnett. I even told Mike about it. I told party leadership about it. And you know what happened? Nothing. No one wanted to report about it. No one wanted to talk about it, which tells me one thing. They know and they don't care because that's just how things work. Anyone that helps the other side wins elections should be kicked out. Plain and simple. And what's funny is that there are Perry Township Republicans that are calling people like me clowns, all because I don't want traitors in the party, because we have garbage leadership and it hasn't made things better, because Indy is becoming a bigger shithole and the GOP doesn't want anything to do about it. And that's why I'm a clown, really, because I want things to get better and I want traitors out of the party. And the Libertarians the Libertarians could really take over Indianapolis. They can definitely beat the GOP right now, but they're too concerned about banging their coworkers, smoking weed legally, and talking about philosophy. And these are the same people that don't want child rapists to be executed. I asked them. They don't believe in execution. So let's be honest, the Libertarians can make some headway, but they have a clear message. Hey, man, just do whatever you want, man. Peace and love, man. And so the only way to save Indy, this is where we get to it. There's only one way to save Indy, and that is to have a different county chair. In March, we will be having an election. I will be surprised if I'm still a Republican in good standing after this video. And I'm not a big fan of the big tent policy, but, at this point, Indianapolis is so dead that, we have to really, the extremists we need to take out, because I don't want someone like Mark Small in the Republican Party. And I don't want people that are helping out Democrat opponents in the Republican Party, because people like Mark Small, they want to take your guns away and they want to have anytime abortion. So towards the end or the middle of next month, I will be interviewing somebody who is running who is going to be the candidate for the Marion County GOP chair. And that man is Johnny GOP. That's right, John Schmitz. He is the only way right now that Indianapolis can get back on track so we can actually get some common sense back in the capital city of Indiana. Because right now, nothing's working. Our current county chair, 4 years and nothing's happened at all. The only person that's actually won office is Derek Cahill, which he was kind of a shoe-in anyway. Carrasco got 40%. Shreve got 40%. Doesn't help any of the other candidates that are actually running for office. Can't get a message back from him. And even when I try and talk to different people and different chapters and townships, they're pretty much non-existent. I will give credit to somebody, though. Matt Huckabee, who I think is the Broad Ripple. I think he's in the Broad Ripple or Lawrence GOP. He's the one who called this whole thing out in Lawrence. So I think Huckabee is probably a solid one. You guys got to help me out with that one. If he's not, I don't know anything about him. There are grassroots people in Indianapolis that want to make things better. Unfortunately, the establishment does not want grassroots people in there. But I will tell you what, right now, to the bottom of my heart, if we don't have new and better leadership like John Schmitz, I can almost guarantee you that Indianapolis will turn 100% blue by 2027, by the next election, with the city councilors, with the mayor. It's basically going to be turned into Chicago, into New York City. There's no going back. Right now, we're just hanging on by a thread. You have 3 townships right now that are red. And Wayne Township is up for grabs, but the GOP doesn't want to do anything about it, which is bananas to me. So next week, I will be talking about the bills that are coming in. Some are dumb, some are pretty cool, and some are just straight garbage. So make sure you check me out next Tuesday at 8 o'clock on that. Also, this Saturday night, 8 o'clock, don't forget, I'm going to be doing the chill stream. We're going to be looking at some bills. We're going to be talking about some of the news. Basically, it's weekly Whitty news, everything that's happened during the week. It's a quick catch up and kind of things that people don't really pay attention in Indianapolis too. Like if you go on to Amazon.in, that's like the that's like the Amazon for India. And just some of the crazy stuff that you can buy over there, like cow dung. It's pretty wild. I guess you get pretty good deals, though. So make sure you like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Make sure you check me out next week. Make sure you check me out on Saturday nights. Everything's on my YouTube channel. And make sure you check me out on Twitter. So until next time.